Hello, students. Okay, target 4C, being able to use exponents, properties, and logarithms to solve problems in context or real-world problems or just strictly application problems. There are three types. You'll find one in lesson 4.3. This one has to do with long-run values. The lessons 4.3, pages 15 to 16 give you a good example. And problem number 5 on page 25 of the lesson, slide 25, is something that you should be able to do on your own. So this lesson gives you an example of the chlorine in the pool. If you give the pool the initial shock of 450 grams of chlorine, after 1 day, 85% of the chlorine is still left in the pool. Now, at some point, if you don't keep adding chlorine, the amount of chlorine will disappear entirely. But if every day after that initial shock, I add 45 grams, then at some point it's going to level off. Instead of approaching zero, the situation is going to cause the chlorine to dissipate. It's going to lose 15% per day, but at the same time, you're adding back chlorine. So take a look at that problem. The way to solve these is assume that terms in sequence, the term came before and the term where you are now, consider those to be constant. If they're constant, then there is no change in the amount of chlorine in the pool. So this is something you can assume to be true. If if there's no change in the amount of chlorine in the pool, then I have reached my long-run value and my numbers in my sequence aren't changing from u sub n minus 1 to u sub n. Okay, so that's one type of problem. The other type of 4C problem is typically asking you to find the half-life or doubling time, an exponential problem. So write out the exponential equation, and y is going to be the outcome, and you simply make it half or double of the initial value, and then you solve for the exponents. Solve for the exponent and use logarithms. Now, logarithms are going to be necessary because you're not going to be able to rewrite the problem as a common base and just drop the bases. A good example of this problem can be found on page 13 through 18 of lesson 4.4, and you should be able to do problem number 8 on page 40 to 41. The third type of 4C problem is asking you to find the rate in a power equation. Now remember, a power equation is like this. You have some value raised to a power equals some other value. Now, this is a bad example because I've used a decimal. Let's use a rational exponent. Okay, so now you're solving for this base, and to undo a power, you use the inverse of that power. So we've raised both sides to a 3/2. Product of power, power of a power rule says that this is x to the first. This is equal to 18 to the 3/2 power. Use your calculator to find out the answer to that one. A good example is on page 5 and 6 of lesson 4.7, and you should be able to do problem number 6 on page 26. So that's it. That's the three types of 4C problems. The next video will have me showing you 3 of one of those.